Well, arrests are being made. We discussed earlier in the program, Antifa Kyle and Notoriously Lizzie both picked up in Minnesota to join DeWoke Farmer and DeWoke Lemon. Also in New York, though, some mass arrests made by NYPD. Yeah, the local police are on the job for blocking roadway near Columbia University. Of course, Columbia in the news again. Mahmoud Khalil, is he available? He's on his way out, isn't he? He's being deported to Africa somewhere, as I recall. As well as those in Manhattan that were blocking entrances to buildings, you know, the chanting and so on and so forth.
Obstructing pedestrian traffic by blocking this building's active entranceway. Union power! We got the power! Union power! Hey folks, unfortunately we're going to be bringing people through here. Can you just clear our path?
Yeah, and it turned out the police union had the power. If you catch my drift, they were taken away. Peacefully, thankfully. I didn't see any incidences of one of these professional agitators accosting police officers, so that's fine. You know, you want to get a disturbing the peace arrest on your record to show you're down with the struggle, you know, go ahead.
If you have refused to leave the roadway, you will be placed under oath on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate, transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate,
yeah, they're sorry, officer. They're too busy with their chants. I mean, they put so much rehearsal work in. You know, some chanting, a little bit of a temper tantrum. Feel good about themselves. The self-esteem is the important thing. Here's one church, by the way, just in terms of a little bit of levity with respect to some of this, which is needed. A church in Delaware. Here's a church service that Don Lemon won't interrupt.
The whole purpose of this is to...
Our neighbors in gonna de-ice our neighborhoods. Invite our neighbors in, I'm gonna de-ice our neighborhoods. Invite our neighbors in, we're gonna heal this world with love. Tear down the fences.
Yeah, don't know if Hunter was available. Don't exactly know if that's his church or not. So good times. Less entertaining federal judges here. We talked about the judge who blocked temporarily the removal of TPS for asylum seekers from Haiti who are in this country, some 350,000. Temporary protected status. This Biden appointee is not familiar. She doesn't know what temporary is, even just as she doesn't know what a woman is. We also had a judge, Indira Talwani, who is attempting to block the Trump administration from using taxpayer information to find people in this country illegally and apprehend them for deportation. Sort of standard issue law enforcement activity for the purposes of, holding people accountable under the law. These politicians in robes, a continuing problem, and don't know what you can do about it really in the short term other than appeal it and ultimately be victorious, but it just pushes out the duration of the process, doesn't it? For more on these and related legal matters, pleased to be joined again by Will Chamberlain, Senior Counsel at the Article 3 Project. Will, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
The sing-along at the Delaware church was just for your benefit. But what I really want to talk to you about is the judges. The issues I mentioned, that Talwani holding on the use of tax information to track down people in this country illegally, where relevant. And then the other case of the temporary protected status for Haitian asylum seekers being rescinded. I mean, is it clear in both of these instances that the Trump administration and the president in particular on the TPS designation has the authority there?
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear on both. I think both of these decisions are dramatically wrong and will eventually either get reversed on appeal by the First Circuit or, in the case of the Talwani decision or whatever circuit happens. I forget, the TPS thing I think is happening on the 9th, so that may need to go to the Supreme Court. But in any event, both of these circuits and both of these judges are just wildly out of control. Talwani in particular has ruled against the administration in basically every opportunity, and even when she is slapped down by the First Circuit, which is not a friend of the Trump administration. Don't think there's a single conservative judge on the First Circuit. She's repeated herself. I mean, there was one case with regard to Planned Parenthood funding where basically Congress stripped Planned Parenthood funding out of the appropriations, and Talwani was issued an injunction saying, no, you can't do that, which just goes against the most basic structure of our government. Of course, Congress can decide not to fund things, and you, random district judge, don't get to force them to.
And again, despite what the Supreme Court has indicated or tried to indicate to these Article III judges, just not taking in some quarters. I mean, is there more that the High Court needs to do here, that Congress needs to do here, or is this just the bumps in the road that go along with separation of powers and dealing with rogue judges that have been confirmed by the Senate?
I mean, there must be something they can do, I would hope, to kind of police Ms. Talwani and inform her that she's expected to actually attempt in good faith to follow the law, which she just is not doing. It's really a unique circumstance. I can't think, even the judges who I have called for the impeachment of, people like James Boasberg and Judge Boardman, haven't shown the sort of consistent insubordination, not just to the executive branch, but rather to higher courts that Judge Talwani has. She's making no effort to try and conform her decisions to the law and to what higher courts have told her about similar cases. She's not even trying. And so, I mean, you see that and you think, okay, this person shouldn't be on the bench. They should find something else to do with their time. They're not doing their job.
Yeah, I suppose impeachment ultimately is the ultimate resolution to make an example of someone, but of course you need the votes to do that. Even perhaps the process, though, would be worthwhile, because the same thing in the case with TPS status for Haitian asylum seekers. The judge didn't make a claim based on the law. She just basically said Kristi Noem is racist, so I'm not. So you can't rescind it.
Yeah, and that's not viable. Obviously, temporary protected status is supposed to be temporary. It's in there. There's nothing more permanent in United States immigration law than temporary protected status, apparently, to the point that judges are saying you can't rescind it. I mean, give me a break. The entire point of it is that it's a bit of grace that we give if there's a natural disaster, but that you'll be expected to go home, and that's the deal. Apparently not.
Well, and again, just all of these illustrations of the devastating consequences of the lawlessness inflicted by the previous administration on this country. We had another one that just bubbled to the surface yesterday. 4 Amish gentlemen, a father and 2 of his sons and a family friend, killed in a truck accident in rural Indiana by a Kyrgyzstani illegal who illegally obtained his CDL license in Pennsylvania. This is a whole, we've spent a lot of time talking about benefits fraud. We were talking about the vulnerabilities and the fraud being committed with licensure in some of these states, too, a few weeks back. Now it seems that we need to revisit that with California and sanctuary states in particular, but Pennsylvania isn't one. And you just have people on the road that shouldn't be on the road, and the body count continues to increase. I mean, this is the real world consequences that Tom Homan does such a nice job talking about. But there perhaps needs to be more emphasis and more pressure put on governors and secretaries of state to say, what kind of handle do you have on the amount of fraudulent CDL licenses that have been issued by your state?
Yeah, I think, it's the most, maybe the single most pressing public safety concern with regard to illegal immigration, because apparently it's everywhere. I mean, we had that Florida, that truck that, crossed 3 lanes of traffic on a highway in Florida, and he was a CDL holder, and he clearly barely spoke English at all, didn't understand basic traffic laws. CDLs are supposed to be hard to get because you're in control of a giant semi-truck. They're not. I mean, it should be harder to get them a driver's license, and these people aren't even really in a position where they should be qualifying for driver's licenses. So it's just a huge public safety threat.
You know, speaking of speaking English, maybe that was the inflection point in this country where things really started to slide away from us. The advent of press 1 for English, when that became ubiquitous. It's just interesting because, as a case out of California, a former UCLA hospital gynecologist was convicted of being a sex predator. He was given an 11-year sentence for his crimes. But the conviction was just tossed because one of the jurors could not speak English. So he didn't really know what was going on. He didn't have the basis to form an opinion based on the facts that were presented in court to join with the rest of the jurors in rendering a guilty verdict. A foreman told the judge one of the jurors doesn't really speak English, and that never made it to the defense counsel. You know, it's like these stories from suburban Chicago, the illegal immigrant from Montenegro who's on the Hanover Park, Illinois Police Department. There was a Cameroon person in this country, a person from Cameroon in this country illegally in New Orleans who was just arrested. He was in the police academy about to join the New Orleans police force. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that just sort of speaks to just how pervasive the impact of this lawlessness with respect to immigration law is.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it is remarkable how, I mean, it's just, you're seeing people take jobs that how did they get that job? Did nobody ever ask for their passport ever? I mean, you'd think that would be the first thing you'd have to provide. It's a problem everywhere, and we need it to stop. And it's why the president is right to, continue with the largest mass deportation program in American history.
I wanted to get your handle on another topic quickly before we let you go, if we could. Chuck Schumer was on MSNBC yesterday, as of course is his wont, and he was asked actually a pretty good question that he definitely avoided answering. You oppose the SAVE Act, birth certificate to register, voter ID to vote, but 71% of self-identified Democrats support it. So what do you say to them? Here's what he said.
Jess, there's a new Pew Research poll that 95% of Republicans, but also 71% of Democrats like this idea. So why do you not?
It's Jim Crow 2.0. And I called it Jim Crow 2.0, and the right wing went nuts all over the internet. That's because they know it's true. What they're trying to do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting.
Yeah, so I guess 71% of self-identified Democrats are segregationists, according to their dear leader Schumer. But the argument against the SAFE Act that he makes that married women changing their names won't be able to vote and so forth.
Yeah, you hit exactly the thought I had when he was saying that this is Jim Crow. Like, what an insult to your voters! It's not. Yeah, it's no longer merely just an insult to your black voters who you're insinuating would have trouble getting a driver's license. I mean, that's not actually that difficult thing to do, and almost everybody does it. You're insinuating the people that disagree with you are for Jim Crow. One of the things that's amazing about this, think about all the money that goes into these Democratic voter registration drives, and then these weird arguments about, we can't get everybody driver's licenses, and it's you got to make sure people's driver's licenses can vote. Why wouldn't you do what is really a humanitarian project of getting these people who do not have driver's licenses proper identification? If you can't prove who you are, it makes functioning in the modern world extremely difficult. So that would be, not only would it be it would be great for your voting if you had a voter ID requirement, but it would just be good for the people who you purport to represent. Get them ID so they can go to get on a plane if they need to, or go to a bar, or any number of things.
Yeah, I wish we could just identify this cohort, bring them into an arena or somewhere, and let's do it en masse. This cohort that can't get IDs in this country, they don't really exist. And so I think that's the main problem with Schumer's argument.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, that's the real thing. It's probably fraudulent because you'd think that if there were this mass of people who without IDs, what you do is you take all those canvassers and all those nonprofit employees and all that billions of dollars designed to register people to vote and have them go out and get the help walk these people through getting them to the DMV. That would be a very helpful thing to do. It'd be like a genuine mitzvah, but they don't do that, right? Like they don't do that. They want to be able to cheat. That's why.
Will Chamberlain, Senior Counsel at the Article 3 Project. Thanks for joining us again, Will. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection.